Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, or good morning, depending on where you're joining us from. Welcome to our webinar titled Accelerating CATIA's Search for Automotive Suppliers. The title of our webinar mentions CATIA as a CAD platform, but the solution we will feature here today addresses nearly all CAD platforms, including AutoCAD, Inventor, SolidWorks, and many others. Over the years, we have worked with many companies on their data management initiatives. There are many flavors and options. The two most common are PDM, which stands for Product Data Management, and PLM, which stands for Product Lifecycle Management. At the core of both PDM and PLM is the ability to search information quickly and find what you're looking for, and improve reuse rather than starting a new design from scratch. Generically, we call this fast search. The solution we are featuring today provides fast search without the complexity. There's no need to implement expensive software. There's no need to migrate data. There's no complicated user interface. It features a quick time to value so that you're up and running in days, not weeks or months. And a Google-like interface makes the solution easy to use. In terms of the agenda for today, we'll go through just some quick introductions, just a brief introduction of Adaptive Corporation. We have a guest speaker today. The gentleman's name is Aaron Crabtree from American Showa. Then we'll introduce a solution. The solution is a product called Alcove 9. Followed by a demonstration of Alcove 9. Then we'll be sure to provide time at the end of the webinar today for Q&A. In terms of introductions, my name is Frank Thomas. I'm with an organization called Adaptive Corporation. We are a sales and service provider for the solution being featured here today. The name of the solution we're featuring today is called Alcove 9. I'm joined by Aaron Crabtree of American Showa. American Showa implemented the solution last year and was impressed with the software capabilities and user adoption. Aaron will offer some background on American Showa and talk about their experience implementing Alcove 9. Aaron and I are joined today by Sam Abuhamdan, representing Alcove 9. Sam has over 20 years' experience in engineering and services. Now for some quick housekeeping. In the upper right-hand corner of your screen, you have a chat window. This chat window allows you to type questions to the presenters as they occur to you. Please enter your questions at any time during the presentation, and we'll do our best to answer them during the Q&A portion at the end of the webinar. So just a quick introduction of Adaptive Corporation. Adaptive Corporation is a Dassault system sales and support organization. We offer the full portfolio of Dassault systems products, including CATIA, Anovia, Sumulia, and Delmia. We specialize in data management solutions for engineering and business process. In addition, Adaptive has a metrology group that works with automotive and aerospace companies in support of their quality initiatives, including AS9102 and PPAP. We provide first article inspection software that operates natively in CATIA V5 and or Adobe PDF. Adaptive's main focus is automotive and aerospace. We have over 10 years' experience working with automotive suppliers in the USA and Canada. Many of our customers are Asian automotive suppliers. We have environment expertise in both the Honda and Toyota environments and standards, which are a bit unique. In fact, one of our resources works at the Honda HRAO facility weekly. So with that, I'd like to introduce our next presenter, Aaron Crabtree of American Showa. Aaron will talk a bit about American Showa and their experience with the solution. Aaron, let me pull up your presentation, and then we'll be over to you.
Okay, very good, Frank. Good afternoon to everybody that's out there, or good morning. It's good afternoon where I'm at. And I'd like to tell you a little bit about American Showa here before I dive into the Alcove 9 presentation. American Showa is a Honda supplier, and we work directly with HRAO also. All right, so here we go. So we supply suspension components, power steering components, and drivetrain components to Honda, so mainly a chassis supplier. We're also a big Harley-Davidson supplier with suspension, and we've got multiple locations worldwide. Over here, underneath American Showa, we've got locations in the United States and Canada, and then, of course, Japan is where the company is based from. Go ahead to the next slide, Frank. So we implemented Alcove 9 in the end of 2012. We weren't quite ready for a full PLM solution yet. We just didn't have the manpower in place for somebody to manage that. So we looked at Alcove 9 because of its search capability. Part of the strength of a PDM or PLM system, as Frank mentioned, is the search capability. And we felt that Alcove 9 could give us that search capability and actually gave us some other benefits beyond being able to search through our CAD data. So I want to cover today searching within engineering documents, primarily CATIA and a little bit of AutoCAD. And then I'd like to talk about the advantages that we found over the Windows search. Next slide. Were you able to move to the next slide? There we go. All right. So the real advantage for us with Alcove 9 is the ability to search within CAD data. So you can see here on the screen that this looks like just a standard search within your web browser, but the data that it's indexing is CATIA drawings, CAT drawings. So as you can see here, within the drawing, it has indexed all of the text within those drawings. So on this first slide up at the top, there inside that little search box there's a 20 gram centimeters. And if you look down into the second result where that red circle is, the second result shows 20 gram centimeters. Now, that's not metadata that had to be entered when the drawing was entered into the system. That's just from Alcove 9 finding the data on the network and indexing all the text. So that is actually out of a note inside the CATIA drawing. Let's go to the next slide. So over on the left side of the search results there is a little index, and Alcove 9 goes in and creates this little thumbnail, which is just handy because as you're searching through your data, you can tell whether you're looking at a drawing or a PDF or a CAT part or CAT product file without having to click on it and open it. So that's just one little piece of verification that will let you know that you're opening the right file or you're searching for the right data. Let's go to the next one. Okay, and here's an example of some more data that I was searching for here in a drawing. In this case, I was searching for a last name, and this would just be the designer's last name, where his name falls somewhere in the title block on the drawing. And you can see here that it shows up as the first result. Apparently, he was only on this drawing. So as I was looking through this data, I thought it was interesting because I didn't remember that my own name was on this drawing. But if you look closely there, down toward the bottom of the summary there, you can see Crabtree is in there. So it actually gives you access to data you may not have realized was there. But we find that this is really handy for being able to search through the bill of materials column, through the designer's names, through control numbers that may be on your drawings, of course by part number, and any of the notes that would have any engineering characteristics inside them. Okay, let's go to the next one. So this is just a zoomed in view here of that first slide that we had. And one of the helpful parts of Alcove 9, over on the right side, there's a column there that has a heading above it, refinements. And this is really helpful. You know, oftentimes we have an idea of when the drawing was created, and so being able to filter by date or being able to look at a date range is very helpful. Of course, file type is helpful. We take all of our drawings and create PDFs out of our drawings also. So both the PDF and the CAT drawing are sitting out there. I may not want to open the PDF as a designer, so I prefer to open the CAT drawing. Source is actually really handy too. We have two different sources in Alcove 9 for our installation. So we've got a production data source and we've got a pre-production data source. So this allows me to choose whether I'm looking for any release drawings or whether I'm looking through drawings that haven't been released yet. Path, again, is an interesting refinement here because it allows you to look in certain areas of the network without being overwhelmed by a lot of data. Okay, so let's go to the next one. So now I'd like to get into the advantages over Windows search for us. We'll go ahead to the next slide. So in our experience, the Alcove 9 sits there and it indexes everything that's on the network. It's just constantly indexing, just like Google would be indexing the internet. And so what we found is that when we're able to do a search, that search will give us good results within about 2 to 3 seconds in our installation. So it's really fast. If you've ever tried to sit there with your Windows computer and do a search of a large folder, it could take forever. And not only that, it only gives you the results from the file name. So the file has to be named properly in order to get a good result. Whereas with Alcove 9, it'll pull out anything out of any of the files that are on the network. If they're a Microsoft Office document, CAD document, it can be AutoCAD also. We do have a few AutoCAD drawings, and it is able to index the notes out of the AutoCAD drawings. And of course, PDFs. So if you make your PDF in a way that has text in it rather than just a graphic, then it can also index the PDF, which is really handy. Alcove 9 is able to find files within a complicated directory structure. And this is really important for us when we have people out of the office. We're not able to find their files very quickly, or maybe not at all. And so by being able to just type in a couple search parameters and being able to find their files wherever they're buried on the network and not have to go dig through the network just saves an incredible amount of time. And then filtering is something that we can't do with just your standard Windows search. So the results come back to you with the search text highlighted in yellow. And as I mentioned before, you can filter by when it was created. You can filter by who it was created by. If you have any information about the project, if you have model codes, you can search by that project. And of course by document type, whether it's an engineering type document or whether it's an office document. Okay, Frank, I think I'll turn it back over to you.
Okay, thank you, Aaron.
Sure.
So that's a real good overview in terms of a first case example of somebody's experience with Alcove 9 and their ability to implement the solution quickly. So now we're going to turn the balance of the presentation over to Sam Abuhamdan. Sam is going to take us through a little bit of an overview of Alcove 9 in a little bit more detail, and then a live demonstration as well. So Sam, over to you.
Thank you, Frank, and thanks, Aaron, very much for your presentation. Good afternoon or good morning, everyone. And kind of like Frank said, I'm going to go through the presentation probably about for 10 or 15 minutes, then get into a live demo so that you could see exactly how does it work in action. But before I do that, just a little bit about Alcove 9. We have been in the search business for about 7 or 8 years now. We started first with some solutions that were helping other software vendors trying to kind of embed our solution inside their software. And we have managed to sell a lot of seats that way. We have over 120,000 users with other solutions with Alcove 9 embedded in it. For the past 2 years, we decided to take that solution outside and not just keep it embedded inside other people's software, but kind of present it like Aaron presented it in some of the screenshots as a browser-based solution so that it's not only limited to a certain types of data or certain databases or certain data sources, but available for the users within a company so that they can find whatever they're looking for, regardless of where the data is located or what type it is. With this particular presentation, we're talking about how do you accelerate your CAD search. Now, why, before we start doing this, why do you want to accelerate the CAD search? Because CAD, a lot of search in general, people, if you think about it, it's a non-value add task. You want to minimize that task as much as possible because people just don't want to search for stuff. They just want to work on whatever they're searching for. So you want to make sure that not only you speed up the process, but also you do it accurately so that it doesn't lead to errors and it doesn't frustrate the users, because if it takes too long, you'll end up with frustrated users. And also, more importantly, you want to accelerate the CAD search because it could hinder the design reuse, right? Because most times, if users cannot find what they're looking for, chances are they're going to go and recreate it again because they'll be frustrated looking for it. Your client or your boss probably is looking for that information very quickly, so you just cut to the chase and recreate it again. So it could be a big hindrance to design reuse. And I'm sure everyone is aware on this call, the design reuse is big initiatives at a lot of companies. So what we're going to do here is to talk about 6 ways to increase data reuse and accelerate your data search. Now, before we get into that, I'd like to go over a few facts. I don't know how many of you know that, but I was shocked when I first looked at that number. I came across this in an IDC study. They talk about 15 to 35% of people's time is spent in searching for information. And that was shocking. But if you start thinking about it, and I was one that actually sat down and timed myself in a number of occasions, we are trained to go in and navigate and look for data the way we learned how to navigate for data. But that is time consuming. And if you think about also what happens before you start, what happens when you save the data, right? We try to kind of create structures and naming conventions and standards and everything else for the purpose of finding it later on quickly, right? So imagine if all of this goes away and how much time you would save. It would be a lot of time. The most frustrating thing that same study also found is that 50% of the time searchers do not find what they're looking for. So 50% of the other time is they getting frustrated or they coming out with nothing. And lost documents is estimated. I say lost documents in here, but what I mean is lost it's a perceived loss of document or not finding it, is about 6 times the cost of the time that was spent originally to create it. And worse yet, if somebody actually doesn't find it and ends up recreating that document, the cost jumps up to 11 times the cost of the original, which you could tell right away is very, very devastating. Now, what are really, if you think about it, if I was able to summarize the reasons for inefficient data search and what prevents us from reusing data. One of the major reasons for not reusing data is disparate data sources. You know, people store data all over the place, right? And sometimes the disparate data sources, they're not connected. Most of the time, they're not connected, right? So that leads to a lot of redundancy in data, and also causes people, especially new people, if they come to a company and not aware of all the data sources, that could be a problem in finding data and reusing data. The second is inability to search within data files. You know, a lot of search methods, even inside PLM and PDM systems, are still dependent on metadata, right? Still dependent on properties, right? And if you can't search within, you might not be able to find what you're looking for. because most of the time we remember what we want to work on, like a topic, a part, maybe a name of some sort, or maybe a couple of keywords that they're not necessarily in PLM attributes or metadata most of the time. So if you are unable to search within the data or within the content of the files, sometimes it's a hindrance or a roadblock to data reuse and data search. Also, another one is data is located in both structured and unstructured formats. What I mean by that, a structured format would be like a database, like a PLM database, an ERP database of some sort, or even an Access database, where the data is structured as far as the parent, child, and grandchildren, or maybe some kind of relationship is built between those data. And unstructured would be Windows files type thing, where the data sits within folders and subfolders. So if you have mixed data where it's located inside a database and outside a database, that sometimes creates a problem as well. Another reason is hard to use tools. I mean, a lot of companies they invest into some tools to organize the data and make it available for search and data reuse, but they're hard to use and it requires a lot of training in some cases, right? So you want to make sure that the tools are very easy to use so you can find what you're looking for. And number 5 is, you know, a lot of people have thought maybe a PLM or PDM is a solution for their search problem, right? Now, I'm not taking anything away from PLM or PDM type solutions because they're definitely needed because they offer a lot more than just search. But search is a big part of it, right? And if somebody is just looking for search and they have other ways to kind of configure their data or trying to do a workflow to release their data, PLM could become a very expensive and highly disruptive type solution to implement. And number 6 is legacy data. A lot of companies also, they move from one system to another, from one data to another, or in case of mergers and acquisitions, you end up with some redundant systems. So legacy data kind of like, it becomes very hard to access, and you don't know what to do with it. So again, data reuse becomes legacy data becomes a roadblock to data reuse. So just a quick math in here. I decided to do this just to give people an idea of what 10 minutes a day from a small group of 20 people can add up to. If you really save somebody, forget about the 15 and 35 minutes that the IDC report talked about. If you think you can save somebody 10 minutes a day in a group of or a team of about 20 people, right? You're talking about almost 4 man-months a year. That's what 10 minutes a day is. So it could be it could very well add up quickly and become very costly. So we need to really find a way to increase data reuse. But how can we do that? Well, we came up with these 6 ways. One is you want to make sure that you find, view, and use the part data that you have, even though they're in multiple sources. You want to make sure that you find this common area or common access point, that from that point you can go in and find what you're looking for. Number 2, we want to get results from deep within the file. So we want to search beyond just the metadata, beyond the naming conventions or any kind of attributes or properties of a file. Because again, people tend to remember the content more than just the labels and the metadata. Number 3, you want to unlock that rich structured content stored in the PDM system or an ECM or whatever the database is. And what I mean by unlocking the rich content, think about a document that we check into a PLM or ECM system. The document has all kinds of information, all kinds of keywords, all kinds of data in it. And we reduce that document to maybe about 10 different fields that are searchable, and that's the metadata, and that's what most data about how most databases work, either PLM or ECM or ERP, right? So it allows you only to search on those. It doesn't do full text search, right? So you're really locking that rich content that's already contained and created in that document and reducing it down to only 10 searchable fields. Number 4 is you would definitely need to apply a tool that's easy to use so that you can increase adoption within your user community. It doesn't matter if you have the best tool in the world. If you can't get your users to quickly and easily adopt it, your implementation will fail or suffer, right? The other thing is you want an immediate out-of-the-box ROI, right? You do not want to have projects that tend to take months and years to implement and see the ROI. Not only management won't sanction that, but also users will get frustrated and they will not believe that the tool will be a helpful tool for them. And last but not least is legacy data, right? A lot of people tend to kind of not migrate old legacy data because it's expensive, which is true. Trying to deal with legacy data is sometimes very hard. So you want to try to provide a way to access that legacy data so people can find it when they need it and they don't have to reinvent the wheel per se every time they want something that has been created but it's in a different system. So we at Alcove 9, we believe that we have found the solution for that. We have come up with a base model. We call it the A9 Hub, and that's the hub is as the name indicates, will be that unified location where people can go to find what they're looking for. This particular solution has a search engine built in it, and it can be a browser-based type solution. It's not a web-based, but it's a browser-based. What I mean by that, the distinction, it's an intranet. It's within your four walls. It's sitting on your network behind the firewall, so that your data is still secure. We provide single sign-on, so that if it's on the network, you could just it's simply an icon that you would have in your browser or on your desktop that you can go to and start searching your own data. You'll see the interface in a second. It's very easy to use, very intuitive. If anyone have used Google in the past to search for something on the internet, they will be able to use the Alcove 9 Hub with no problems. So learning curve is very, very minimized. We search deep within files. Like Aaron said, we search the CAD files. We can search through 2D, 3D. We can search PDF files, all the Microsoft Office files, PDFs as well. We can, our built-in viewer, which is an add-on to the A9 Hub solution, that can actually view more than 15 different CAD formats, 2D and 3D. It has markup options. It has measurement type option that allows you to do some dimensioning. You can do some, if you're in a design review type scenario, you can add all your comments on top of the 3D model and save that so that you could later on review it with your design team. If you do a lot of kind of sophisticated type searches with Boolean type operations, you can save those, so it'll make it easier for you to find it the next time. Aaron also touched on the filtering mechanism. We have a very extensive filtering mechanism that allows you to reduce your search and zero in on what you're looking for very, very quickly. And the thumbnail is also another way for people that they can look very, especially if it's an image type, right? You could see what you want from the 2-inch by 2-inch thumbnail view and decide exactly what if that's what you're looking for or not. So with that, I want to go ahead and move over to the live demo. As you can see here, our solution requires a login because users need to be authenticated before they start using Alcove 9 solutions. The reason for that, because we don't want people to find things that they're not supposed to see. Sometimes there are some sensitive data, especially when you start working on a network, that you don't want others to know that it's even there, right? So authentication is required in all our solutions, so that we can identify who the user is and what accessibility they have within the network. This is a sample database that I have within this computer network that I'm using. This has about a little over 900 documents, just to show kind of like the concept. You can see once you get in the solution, once you get into the ANA and hub after you get authenticated, it's very intuitive. Up here is where the search field is, and that's where you type in what keywords you're looking for. Over to the left on top, there are different ways to display your results screen. You could display it. The way I'm showing it right here is with thumbnails as well as text. You can display it as columns. You can display it just by a gallery type view, which is just showing thumbnails and the part name. Or you can eliminate the thumbnails altogether if they don't make a whole lot of sense to you, meaning that if it's not an image-based type search, you could just show text and you can use this view. You can sort out the results by relevance, date, or size. You can export the data into a CSV type file if somebody is doing some kind of a cleanup type work. A lot of our clients, they like that capability in our solution because they knew over the years they had a lot of redundant data and they wanted to clean up their data, so they try to export whatever they find out of the system into spreadsheets and use it as a cleanup before they start implementing or before they deploy it completely to the whole company. You can save searches, as I said. You could do it in a drop-down menu after you save it. And here is just a display, kind of like you want the refinements on the right-hand side or left-hand side type thing. Let me show a quick search. It's simply if you're looking for something like the word wheel, for example, you type the word wheel within seconds. Because we have indexed all the data, you see that there are some data coming in from this data sources Innovator. That's a database that we have the system connected to. Notice if it's a database type item or metadata type thing, you wouldn't see a thumbnail. But if you have something down the list that actually comes from another source other than this database, it will have a thumbnail associated with it. It'll tell you what the source is. For example, here down at the bottom, it found something comes from a sample documents type location. It shows the wheel as a word that was contained right within this document, which is a Microsoft document. Notice the title doesn't have the word wheel in it at all. Same thing here for this PDF document, and on and on and on. Notice also that for a PDF document, we're showing certain type of properties. For something comes from a database, there is a different types of properties. So these properties kind of change on the fly depending on the location and the part type to show you the most pertinent data of that particular record. Some of that also can be changed in our references here. See, we could decide what selected fields you want to show. By the way, we have our search can look into 15 different languages, including Japanese and the Far Eastern languages like Chinese and Korean. So the refinement itself, Aaron talked about date, file type, source, and path. But you're not limited only to that. You can actually use whatever categories you decide as a client of how you want to index your data and what you want to categorize. You know, maybe somebody wants to categorize material, right? So material can be a category that you can use to define your search with. And so you can see on the left-hand side here how you have multiple different types of categories that you could use to display on the right-hand side of your screen for refinement. So with this particular search, notice that I found maybe 46 hits. I could go in and say, okay, I only want maybe the PDF type. Notice that it's 46 hits, so but only about 5 documents really are showing, because the rest of them are coming from records from databases, right? You can find those by going to like other resources or other paths or some other data category that you want to use. Some other filtering mechanisms we have, you can do a kind of last 30 days, last week, today. You could have a drop down of file types, or you can have a slider to, if you want a range of dates, right? That could go down to, right now it covers the whole range of the database, but you could do some others as well. Some other things that I want to show you is the CAD side. So this is kind of like in general of how the system works. But if I wanted to look for maybe some of my CATIA data, let me show you this particular model that we have created for test. This is a CAD part. So all I'm doing here, if this is the one that I wanted to find, and that's the model I'm interested in, all I have to do is click on the thumbnail, and what that does, it actually brings up a viewer, a built-in viewer, CAD viewer that we have in our solution. Notice that it's opened it up right in the browser. This is another tab that it just started. I'm using Internet Explorer here. And now I have a full browser that I can actually, if I have PMI or FTI, FTA data type thing, I could actually display that right on my drawings. I can interrogate that data. It'll show me exactly where it is on the screen, so I can see what each GD&T call out is. If I want to do some kind of measurements, I could do that also on the drawing in here without having to have access to the original data. I could do distance measurements, angle, arc, surface area, edge length, vertex, and minimum distance. I could do it in multiple type units, whatever the units might be. I could, let me show you some of them on the screen. This is an arc dimension, so this probably is not. This one here is a corner of the fillet. It tells me it's a radius of 0.26 inches. It tells me a ratio, length, start angle, whatever the case might be, right? You can also do markups, right? So if I wanted to mark up this drawing, for example, I'm in a design review type session, and I wanted to go ahead and maybe put some kind of notes on the drawing so that I could capture everything that has been discussed in the meeting. It asks you if you want to attach that note to a certain vertex, edge, face. If I want to go in, for example, and attach it to this corner here, I could say, change this to, 0.25 inches, for example, right? So that note stays on the drawing, right? I'm sorry, on the part. It's attached to that corner. You'll always see it there, and it keeps a record of each markup right here at the bottom so that you can come back to it. Now, one other point that's worth mentioning here is what I opened. If you look at the bottom, it tells you it's a CATIA V5R20 part, right? So we do not do any kind of data translation to bring it up. We bring up native data. So that, and notice how quick it was, and it didn't require any kind of manipulation of the data, original data, or anything like that. And if you save any kind of markups, it's saved in a separate file, and the native data is not touched. We could do assembly type information too. We should have some. Let me search for some CAT products. We can search for the CAT products either by typing in the name, or if you're just looking for all the CAT products that you have in the database, you could just go by file type, pick on CAT product. It'll show you that this particular assembly. One thing we have added also in our system, since we index the data and the content, we can actually index the relationship between parents and children. So you can actually click on an assembly without even having to open it. You can go to a Composed Of tab, and I can see all the content of this particular assembly without having to open the CATIA file or open it in the viewer. And you can just pick on each part. It'll show you what it is and how it looks like with the thumbnail. And if you decide that this is the one that you want, again, simply you click on it. It brings it up in the native format, right in the browser that you're looking at. If it's an assembly, no, this is about a large assembly of, and it has maybe about 7 or 8 different components. You could show or hide whatever components within that assembly that you want to show or hide. Do your measurements, mark up the same thing that we just did on the individual component. You can go backwards also, not just the composed of. You can do also where used. So if you have a particular component and you want to find out where it has been used, I could go in backwards as well. Like if come across some of these components here, for example, right? I can click right here and say, where is this particular component used? It'll go back to the assembly, and it'll show you what that assembly looks like. So it's a very handy tool so that people can be like on the assembly line, maybe just have a workstation there, not necessarily has CATIA on it or any kind of CAD visualization software. You could, with a browser pointing to a server like what I'm showing here, I could access all the details about the CAD file and anything related to it. It could be a spec sheet, it could be an instruction sheet, it could be a customer order, whatever the case might be. All of that would be in one location that the customer can go and find what they're looking for. So I think I covered most of it. I want to make sure that I leave you guys enough time to ask questions. But before I do that, I want to just touch a couple more things on my on the presentation. So one of the things that I wanted to mention is that our solution is offered on a subscription type basis. So it's if for those of you that are not familiar with subscription or software subscription, it's not the typical model where you pay a high amount up front and then a 10 or 15% every year for maintenance. It's a subscription amount which is the same amount every year, and it's much reduced than the typical high front-end type cost, so that it's kind of affordable and a low entry cost for a lot of companies. We offer that solution on a 2 different membership. One is the Gold membership that includes training, maintenance, online chat, frequently asked questions, phone support, as well as help desk. And there is a broad access to a community board that we have online. The Platinum membership is basically the same as the Gold. The only additional thing that it has with it is any services associated with software upgrade on your side, on our side, or our side, that would be included in the Platinum membership, or that particular subscription. So with that, I just want to thank you for your time today to join us, and I'm going to turn it over back to Frank for questions and closing statements. Frank?
Okay, very good. Thank you, Sam. I think that